If you have been struggling with insomnia and you've been doing all of the work, learning all of the, I guess, different components for recovery, and you continuously see that you need to surrender to the process, and you may be feeling like or thinking, what does that actually mean? I'm Fiona. I'm a recovered insomniac turned holistic sleep coach. I help other people recover from insomnia naturally without medication, without strict rules. And yes, it is possible, even though it sometimes feels impossible. And I recently asked on my Instagram stories, what are some questions that I could potentially address in a longer form context? And somebody asked, how do you surrender to this process? And this is such an important question, such a valid question, because insomnia is a very difficult situation. It probably feels so unbelievably isolating. You feel so alone, like you are potentially broken. You most likely had the ability to sleep at some point, and now it seems like no matter what you do, you just can't seem to sleep, right? You're maybe even learning around or learning a lot about around insomnia, what it actually is, what perpetuates insomnia. And I truly believe that that first step to recovery is that educational component. But then when we start understanding and conceptualizing or like even intellectually understanding what exactly is going on, that next step of truly surrendering to that process and truly like embodying that experience is not easy. And it's truly not easy because in many ways we are in a battle with ourselves. Not only are we with a battle or in a battle with sleep, but we're also in a battle with our natural instincts. So what happens with insomnia is that you have this fear of not sleeping, hence you don't sleep, and then that in itself perpetuates the cycle. In order to actually break that cycle in itself, you need to almost like reteach your brain and reteach your nervous system that you are in fact safe when you are awake or when you're awake at night. And that's not easy because your logical brain, even though knows like, okay, nothing's actually going to happen when I don't sleep, your, I guess, illogical and survival instinct side of your brain and your nervous system doesn't actually know that, and it doesn't really seem like they speak with each other. So oftentimes it's like, okay, we have the information and we're trying our best to surrender to that process, and we keep saying to ourselves like, okay, I'm going to be okay with this, and I'm going to be okay with wakefulness, and I'm going to do all the things, but yet nothing seems to change. And this is where, yeah, this magical word of surrender comes in. And what does it actually mean? And as a yoga teacher, I almost like feel like surrendering is one of those things that you almost can't put into words. It is a state of being in which you fully let go, in which you truly shift your perspective from one of trying and implementing and of doing, and one of just being. You truly allow yourself to be in that experience. You don't try and change it. And that, again, is difficult. And it's very difficult because it is uncomfortable and it's not something that you can avoid. You can't avoid not sleeping because it is something that our body is telling us that it needs every single day. And every single time that you don't sleep, it is almost like a confirmation that you are broken. And it's like, well, how am I actually okay with being okay with this? And I'd say that it's not that you need to be fully okay with not sleeping at all, but more so you need to learn to be okay with that version of yourself, knowing that you want to eventually sleep more, but knowing that at the moment this is the best version of you that you currently have at hand, and that there's absolutely nothing that you can actually do to change that. So how can you best reason with yourself and almost like offer a lot of like self kindness and compassion to meet yourself exactly where you are? And speaking from my own experience, surrender for me came along the journey in so many different ways. The first time that I experienced this element of surrender was when a friend of mine, who's also a yoga teacher, said to me, you one, you are never given more than you can handle, but also two, there's perhaps a bigger lesson here that needs to be learned, and you don't know how long life is going to take for you to learn that lesson. And I that almost like felt very comforting in a way of like, okay, there is a a bigger picture here, even though I don't really see it right now, even though I don't see any way out. Like, I feel like I'm in a tunnel, zero light at the end of the tunnel. But like truly knowing that I was still somewhat like on that path, and that eventually I would see that light, and that the silver lining and the learnings would be there, was something that I continuously repeated to myself throughout the process. So that was like definitely like one element of surrender. Second element of the surrender definitely came at a point where I'd say that I had been like frustrated with the situation for quite a long time. I had done all of like the sleep hygiene. I'd try a CBTI. I had done all of the things that like the internet and everybody else had told me to do, and nothing seemed to work. So I, one, set the boundary of like no longer discussing this with absolutely anybody who didn't really know about what was going on, and I feel like that really helped for many other reasons, which I can touch in a different video. But also, it allowed me to fully like be in the experience, and to create a bit of space between like where I was and what I was like kind of like telling myself was happening, in a way like not letting insomnia dictate my day-to-day actions, my day-to-day conversations with people, and in a way truly like surrendering to knowing that that was going to be a process. And I think that this element of surrender comes back every single time you also have a speed bump, right? We know when we're struggling with insomnia that things are not always linear. Like, there are moments where you just sleep so well, and like you seem like you just no longer care about sleep, and it's finally just so easy. And yeah, and then out of nowhere, it almost like feels like you forget that you aren't in a position of threat. And it's almost like when that count comes back, and you're back in that fight, and back in that battle with sleep and also with yourself, it's almost like relearning and remembering that again, there isn't actually a battle. There doesn't have to be. You can actually fully withdraw yourself from the equation. And yeah, and I just feel like that element of surrender has really like trickled down into like so many other aspects of my life. It has truly ex under or made me understand that nothing is actually in our control the way that we think it is. And removing almost like all expectations of how things have to like turn out, and really learning to be present, not like fully like enjoying the moment and like, yeah, I don't know, seize the day kind of mentality, but more so truly learning to be okay with whatever version of myself was at hand, whether it was a sad me, a tired me, super fatigued me, emotionally cranky, roller coaster emotional, like whatever it may be. I think that truly the element of surrender truly comes from just like really letting go, like letting go of the expectations that you have on the process, on yourself, on what certain things need to look like. I hope that in some way made sense, and I completely raw dogged this video. If this feels like it resonates with you, I would really appreciate you giving me a like and a subscribe, as that really helps me pass on this message to other people who are potentially also struggling with the same. And if you are ready to kickstart your journey, there is a 5 days to better sleep email series linked below. It is 5 days packed with so much information regarding just really like how to kickstart your insomnia recovery, like anything that I felt like I was missing when I was first struggling and I wish I had found. Anyway, if you have any other specific questions, if you ever have like anything that you would like to personally cover, feel free to reach out. You know where to find me. Anyway, bye for now.